in the conversation that has just come from the throne room of the Lord Almighty. And in that conversation, the Lord has spoken about distress that is coming. And the Lord has spoken about a very severe disease that is going to visit the earth. There are diseases, incurable diseases that are coming to the earth. There are diseases, I see diseases coming to the earth. I see a severe form of skin disease. It looks more like leprosy coming to the earth. It's very, very scary because that disease is very infectious. The Lord already put me in that day. I already saw people running, grappling with that disease. Anyone touching that disease, gripping your hand, you are infected, and it grows like leprosy over your body, over anyone's body, over the bodies of the people of the earth that are infected. It was the most disturbing dream. Whoever touches the door of a car with it, I saw people touching the doors of cars and they're getting infected, gripping by hand, they were infected. It was very, very infectious in this mighty conversation. So this disease is going to be extremely infectious and it's going to be most disturbing. It's very unsightly to look at.
The World Health Organization says the death toll from an outbreak of Ebola in West Africa has now risen to at least 3,000 out of more than 6,000 probable, suspected and confirmed cases. The latest data shows Liberia has recorded 1,800 deaths. That's around 3 times as many as the other 2 most affected countries, Guinea and Sierra Leone. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has approved the equivalent of 100 million euros in aid to help the 3 countries deal with the economic impact of the outbreak.
Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has declared a state of emergency as the country grapples with an outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus. Speaking on national television, she said some civil liberties might have to be suspended. The Ebola outbreak has also hit Guinea, Sierra Leone and Nigeria, killing more than 930 people. World Health Organization, WHO, experts are meeting in Geneva, Switzerland, to discuss a response to the outbreak. Ebola, a viral hemorrhagic fever, is one of the deadliest diseases known to humans, with a fatality rate of between 55% and 90%. It is spread through contact with the bodily fluids of Ebola patients showing symptoms.
Outside the John F. Kennedy Hospital in Monrovia, Liberia, 20-year-old Ibaga Owuor is sick.
Brother, what would you now?
His parents wait beside him. All signs point to the late stages of Ebola, the deadly virus that's killed more than 2,300 across West Africa.
He just vomiting, he toiling, vomiting, toiling, he eat, he vomit.
It's very, very scary because that disease is very infectious. The Lord already put me in that day. I already saw people running, grappling with that disease. Anyone touching that disease, gripping your hand. Whoever touches the door of a car with it, I saw people touching the doors of cars and they're getting infected, gripping by hand, they were infected. It was very, very infectious in this mighty conversation. So this disease is going to be extremely infectious.
The scene at this market in Liberia's capital, Monrovia, tells an ominous tale. The man in red has tested positive for the Ebola virus. The tag on his arm identifies him as a patient at a quarantine centre. But when he escaped and arrived at this market in search of food, he sent the crowd fleeing. The patient is from Monrovia's Owuor hospital, which was so crowded last month that it had to turn away Ebola patients. Doctors arrive and plead with him to go back to the ward.
The Lord took me to an airport, and in that airport I was waiting for a flight in the dream. And then when I entered the plane, then in that plane there was contamination of the Ebola virus. And then I remember I was running in the dream trying to wash my hands, to find soap, disinfectant and everything. So the Lord is saying that the current distress with the Ebola and disease and other more diseases will show up, by the way.
And we begin with all the latest on the Ebola crisis. As that patient in Dallas struggles right now, so much fear the epidemic will spread right here in America. Look inside that plane landing at Newark Airport yesterday. Homeland Security on board after officials in hazmat suits removed a man with flu-like symptoms.
Thomas Eric Duncan has now been at this Dallas hospital for a full week, and this morning his condition is worse than ever. The hospital will only say the Liberian national is in critical condition. His family says much more.
In what's being described as the first case of Ebola contamination in Europe, a Spanish nurse has tested positive. The woman, a nursing auxiliary, worked at the hospital in Madrid where 2 Ebola patients, both missionaries repatriated from Africa, died of the virus in August and September. She was in the medical team that treated the victims. Spain's health minister said the nurse had gone on holiday after the missionary's death last month. Comes as an American TV cameraman who contracted Ebola in Liberia arrived back in the US for treatment. Such cases are raising fears about the worldwide spread of Ebola, which has already claimed nearly 3,500 lives in West Africa since March.
The Lord is using these signs that the church may know the time for the Messiah to take the church is nigh. The time is close now. May those who have their spiritual ears open listen to the voice of the Lord. Shalom.